why don't you tell us? We've had our the Republicans convention, we've had the Democrat convention, and now people are wondering whether or not there's been any kind of boost by the Clintons. I saw one poll that came out, I think, just the other day. So, have you seen anything different, and what is your take at this point in time?
So right now, there's very limited data with regards to measuring the bounce. In other words, as of yesterday afternoon, I haven't seen any polling that would have been taken post-convention, although I'm sure that that kind of information will be released now and for the next few days. The official party line is from two different sources I've read this morning. However, we're talking about a 4 to 7 point convention bounce that Hillary Clinton enjoyed. Also, too, I did find a poll. It was from Public Policy Polling, or PPP. Public Policy Polling did release a poll yesterday that showed Clinton up 5 points. And that was the one fairly good apples-to-apples comparison, because the last time they have done a national poll was on June 30th. So technically, we're talking about the effects both of the Republican and the Democratic convention. So while this poll from PPP showed a Clinton lead of 5 points, Clinton was, according to PPP, 4 points ahead in June 30th. So in other words, what I think has happened with this poll, as well as what I think is going to happen when I have more data, the Republican and Democratic convention bounces will roughly cancel each other out, and we're back to square one, so to speak, with regards to where the presidential race stands.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I did see, I think it was a CBS poll. However, that particular poll, pardon me, was voters rather than, intended voters or
likely voters?
Likely voters, yeah. So, and that had, pardon me, Clinton about 5-6% up. And, just the fact that it wasn't likely voters, I think, is a little bit, to me,
inflate the lead by about a point or two by doing it that way. And this is for the benefit of you and for your listeners, when you get into all these kinds of technicalities about if you're calling registered voters versus likely voters, that matters a great deal. I personally do not believe in registered voters just because there are people in the voter rolls who never will vote, and I think it's a mistake to poll them. And also, too, the dirty little secret of this quote-unquote likely voter polling that a lot of these media outlets engage in, the way they determine who is a likely voter is self-reporting. In other words, they ask the person if they're a likely voter. Well, from my experience, you only filter out 5 to 10% of the people that way, and I've never seen a 95% voter turnout. So my personal philosophy, and this is John Couvillon's way of doing things. A lot of people do not do this way. I'm only interested in looking at the person's voter history to see if he or she is a likely voter. I don't ever believe in self-reporting, nor do I believe in just calling up a list of voters or people and seeing if they're registered voters, because in my opinion, that artificially inflates the totals with people who are occasional voters who are not likely to vote. So a very fine point, but when you have an election that's bouncing back and forth as much as this one, a lot of those little nuances have to be taken into account in terms of getting where the real read is on this election.
Okay, so what about the voters, say, who are new voters?
So new voters, I look at new voters this way. Let's pretend that they were part of a voter registration drive and they have never before voted. Those to me are legitimate to poll. But let's say that someone was a quote-unquote new voter in 2013 or 14 or 15. Well, we don't really know if they haven't participated in any elections yet. We don't really know if they are going to show up. So again, a nuance. But new voters also, too, another point in addition to what you would call new is the definition of a new voter depends on the state. If you're talking about, say, like a Florida or a Texas where you have a rapidly changing and transient voter population, I would be much more interested in those new voters as opposed to, say, someone in Mississippi or Louisiana where you have a much slower rate of change of population.
Okay. Excuse me. Now, what type of, in terms of their history of voting,
Mm-hmm.
are we talking about, say, the last time there was a major election, such as the governor's race? Are we talking about the last time there was a presidential race, or a combination of the two?
My attitude is a combination of the two because people are fairly predictable when it comes to how frequent they vote. As in, you have some people, they literally will show up once every 4 years. You have some people who are kind of in the middle who may participate in gubernatorial and Senate and midterm type elections. And then you have people who show up for everything, even presidential primaries. My attitude is anybody within that spectrum, from presidential only to the perfect voters, all of those, in my opinion, are legitimate voters to poll. I just don't believe in polling purely registered voters because there's garbage in the voter rolls.